I used to believe that the world was a giant vending machine, and my father held the only coin that mattered. Growing up, I didn't know the weight of a dollar. I only knew the weight of the shopping bags I carried. My mornings didn't start with an alarm clock. They started with the smell of a breakfast I didn't cook, served on a tray I didn't carry. My problems were trivial: a scratch on a luxury car, a phone that was 6 months old, or a flight delay to a tropical island. I remember my friends, the ones who actually had to study, trying to talk to me about the future. I'd just laugh. Why plan for the future when the present is perfect? I'd say, I thought my father's wealth was a permanent weather condition. I didn't realize that while I was enjoying the shade, he was the one planting the trees and fighting the storms. Part 2. The cracks in the glass. The change didn't happen with a bang. It happened with a look. One evening, I walked into my father's study to ask for money for a weekend trip. He was sitting at his desk, the lamp casting deep shadows across a face that suddenly looked much older than I remembered. He didn't reach for his checkbook. He just looked at me. It was a look of profound disappointment, but deeper than that. It was a look of fear. Fear for me. Son, he said, his voice like gravel. We need to talk. I smiled, dismissive as always. Is this about the car? I'll be more careful, Dad. No, he whispered. This is about your soul. You have everything, yet you possess nothing. You are a passenger in your own life. He told me to get in the car. We drove away from the bright lights of our neighborhood. We drove until the pavement got rough and the streetlights grew dim. He stopped the car in a part of the city I had only seen through a locked window. Part 3. The Mirror of Reality. He pointed to a man on the corner. It was 5 a.m. The man was setting up a fruit stand. His hands cracked and stained from years of labor. His back was bent, but his movements were precise. Look at him, my father said. He has no safety net. If he doesn't work today, his children don't eat tonight. And yet look at his eyes. I looked. The man wasn't miserable. He had a quiet dignity, a pride in the simple act of providing. Then my father took me to a small, cramped tailoring shop. An elderly woman was hunched over a sewing machine, the rhythmic click-clack the only sound in the room. She had been there for 40 years. She has built a life out of thread and needles, my father said. You, my son, have built a life out of someone else's sweat. If I disappeared tomorrow, you wouldn't just be poor. You would be invisible, because you haven't learned how to stand on your own 2 feet. For the first time in my life, I felt a burning sensation in my chest. It wasn't anger. It was shame. I looked at my expensive watch and realized it didn't tell time. It told everyone how little I valued it. Part 4. The Ascent from the Bottom. The next morning, there was no breakfast in bed. My father handed me a brown paper bag with a sandwich and a set of keys to the basement archive of his company. You start today, he said, from the bottom. And I've told the manager to treat you like you have nothing, because in terms of character, you don't. The first week was a nightmare. My back ached from filing boxes. My eyes burned from spreadsheets. My friends called me to go to the club, and for the first time, I had to say the word I hated most. No, I have to work. I worked under a man named Mr. William. He didn't care who my father was. When I made a mistake, he didn't coddle me. He made me redo the entire task. I wanted to quit. I wanted to scream. I wanted to go back to the easy life. But then, something started to change. I started talking to the other workers. I heard about their dreams, their struggles, and the joy they felt when they finally saved enough to buy a small gift for their kids. I realized that the easy life was actually a hollow life. One Friday, after a grueling 10-hour shift, Mr. William walked by my desk. He looked at my completed report, nodded, and said, "Good work." It was just 2 words. But those 2 words felt better than any luxury car I had ever been gifted, because I had earned them. Part 5. A New Definition of Wealth. Music, powerful, inspiring, and emotional finale. Months turned into a year. I didn't just learn how to work. I learned how to live. I saw my father not as a bank, but as a hero who had carried the weight of hundreds of families on his shoulders every single day. One evening, he called me into his office. He handed me a small, simple key. "You've changed," he said, and for the first time, there was no fear in his eyes. Only pride. You're ready to lead because you finally know what it means to serve. I look back at that boy who thought money was everything, and I feel sorry for him. He was rich in pocket, but a beggar in spirit. Today I know the truth. The easy life is a trap. The hard life, the life of effort, of mistakes, of sweat, and of earned success, is the only one worth living. I'm no longer afraid of the future. Not because I have a fortune waiting for me, but because I finally have the hands, the heart, and the soul to build my own. If you found this story meaningful, remember, your value isn't defined by what you have, but by what you've overcome to get it. Don't wish for an easy life. Wish for the strength to endure a difficult one.